Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of OpenTalk. This is episode 7, and this is Saturday, August 7th, 2021. Hopefully everybody is doing well today. We have a very awesome guest here today, and we're going to introduce him in a moment. But if you have not subscribed to Mac84, this is where we host the OpenTalk podcast live. Please consider doing so. And we have plenty of previous videos for you guys to check out. There's some great ones in there. And hello, everybody in the chat. We have about 20 people hanging out with us. So without further ado, let me introduce our guest today, the one, the only, Ron McAdams. Here he is.
Hey, how's it going? Steve, what are you up to today? I know what you're up to today. I mean, we set this up weeks in advance, but still.
Wait, who are you? You're supposed to. So, Ron.
There's a lot of people in the chat. There's no pressure. No pressure.
No pressure. We just have to entertain all of them for the next 4 hours.
I'll do my very best.
We'll both try. I don't know.
I know. It's just as a warning, my tight 5 for my comedy stuff is 3.5 minutes. So we're going to really have to do some stretching.
Just talk very slowly.
It worked for Truman Capote, I guess.
All right. So thank you very much for joining me on Open Talk. I know we've been trying to get this together for a while, but schedules, you're such a budding actor these days. It's very hard to book you. And
there's a cream for that. I'm working on it. It's the doc said that just a few more weeks and it should all be cleared up. So but no, we do have some busy schedules. That's for sure.
Yes.
And you've had so much going on recently between the 4-hour live streams and just, whatever you do when you're not live streaming, conceivably sleeping, maybe eating.
There's a sprinkling of that, but I just had to keep going on with your agent about your feet. It was, one color classic is enough, but 8 of them, Ron. I mean,
it's a heck of a writer, but one of them has to be brown just to make sure that everybody has read all the fine print on that. So
The color classic has to be inside out. That's what
it does. It has to have severe sort of bromine poisoning on its surface.
So for those of us who are watching this right now, besides, I guess, us, because we're part of it, can you explain to these fine people who you are, what you do, and sort of what sickness that we both have about these vintage computers?
Well, it's, again, I'm Ron from Ron's Computer Videos.
Oh my goodness, it's the famous title card.
It's the famous title card, which really started kind of where I was like, I didn't want to put a lot of titling, kind of like digital titling and stuff, and I just thought, we'll just do it all analog, and that's why I like held my camera the first time, and it was just like, like I never should have filmed on a cruise ship because it was just. I think a couple of the viewers got seasick because I got some really good feedback, and I got an actual tripod and stuff, and I think the other feedback was lock your camera down. And then the other part was, you don't have to show us everything. So I was like, okay, thank you. Feedback is a gift. So I started editing my videos down. I think people really appreciate that.
Yeah, for someone who's been told their videos are too long, I have the same problem of just showing everything.
But I'm a YouTuber, just like you, Steve. Well, not just like you. I mean, my content is a little bit different, but we're still kind of in that Macintosh retro computing world. So I would say I'd like to be like you, in terms of like the quality of content, and I strive to make advances on that all the time.
Well, when we first discussed this show, when we said we were going to do a musical number, I said no. So stop trying to interlude into that. We're not.
It's all right. I was kind of hoping. I mean, I sent you like 6 copies of The Music Man on Blu-ray. I thought you would get the hint, but I guess not.
I told you only the Laserdisc player is hooked up. You gotta.
Oh man. Well, I know for next time. So, but I'm a YouTuber, and I also a former podcast host. I used to be one of the co-hosts of the MST3K Revival League podcast, which was later, with a merger with some other folks, was called Damn Dirty Drive-In. So get the censors ready for the title of that show. But and a voice actor, and I've done tons of radio plays, and I've worked with some of the former creators of Invader Zim on a really cool sort of interactive fiction title for, I guess, tablets and various digital devices called
cool.
It's Not Scary. And I've kind of just broken through, like in the last like 2 years is really when I've finally been able to book some jobs on the acting front. So I just wrapped on a movie down in Texas that's called Dr. Gift. It's a horror movie. It's in post-production now. I also did a movie a couple of months ago called Under Three Moons, which is sort of a romantic sci-fi movie that filmed out in Idaho. And in January, I did a movie out in Palm Springs that's called Night of the Tommyknockers, which is just kind of straight horror, but it has some big name people in it. And I was actually like in a name, or I was in a scene with a name. So you can Google.
You got to see them.
Yeah, I'm in a scene with Tom Sizemore. So that's
what about Tom Sizeless?
Yeah, exactly. If you're a Saving Private Ryan fan, you probably know who he is. But anyway,
I am terrible with names of people, but I am good with. Oh, that's the guy from The Thing.
Yes. That's why I'm your phone a friend if you're ever on Millionaire. So I won't be like, oh yeah, it's Scott Baio's niece's cousin.
That's the guy from The Thing.
We'll have some very more specific names of who people are, but no, that's basically me. I just I do a little YouTube show. I try to kind of build up the community and share other people's stuff, and get on those live streams and make some donations. And yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. I mean, when did you start doing your technology stuff on YouTube?
Oh my God, you're gonna make me like look at the channel.
We discussed this earlier.
Yeah, I probably should have written it down. It's been a couple of years, because kind of in the beginning, actually my YouTube channel's been around for like a million years, because it was originally Google Video. It was a Google Video channel, and then when Alphabet bought out YouTube as a product and they kind of merged everything, my channel got merged. And so I've got some, because it used to be, and I still am, like a fan of Mystery Science Theater 3000, and I've got some videos and stuff out there that are 50,000 views and stuff. It's just they've been around forever. So but I really got back on the Macintosh stuff maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, because I was watching all this really great content out there that folks like yourself were producing, and Chris Torrance and Javier and other people that were kind of just doing fun things. I don't want to leave anybody out. I feel like if I didn't say like Joe's Computer Museum, that he'd like. Oh,
there's a laundry list of people.
I know, it's so many great people making fun stuff. So, and it really kind of got me inspired, because I'm like, I got this like basement full of digital things. I should call it Ron's Digital Basement. And then I got a cease and desist from Adrian Black, and then that's why I went with Ron's Computer Videos.
So I'm just going to test the audio real quick, because people are saying they can't hear me, or I sound muffled. Do I sound muffled to you, Ron?
You might be clipping a tiny bit, and through the algorithm. No, but keep doing it. Our new ASMR show is really, it's going to hit.
Let me move the microphone. Sorry for this deviation of our lovely talk, but people say they can't hear me, and it annoys me. Because
what is a technology vlogcast without technical issues?
That would be a good one. We don't pay the bills enough for that. Let me see if the audio issue has gone away.
I hear you. You're not as clipped as you were previously.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know if it was just a distance. So just taking a pause here. Sorry, guys. Just to fix it. I don't know why. This is the first time using this software to stream, but it says the microphone is the proper microphone. And testing 1, 2. This is Ron, and Ron is being very patient for our technical issues.
It's all right.
If it still sounds weird, please let me know, guys. And
I once sat on a convention panel where it literally took them until the end of the panel to get microphones.
Really?
So all the cool kids in the back were just like,
oh boy,
finally, I guess I'll move up front.
Did they? It's definitely clipping. All right, I'm gonna unplug the microphone really quick and just.
Oh, now I can't hear you at all, Steve. Hey, for anybody playing at home, I also use the Yeti Blue. I think it's an excellent microphone for the price. Not that I get paid to say that or anything, but I would say that if you are looking to up your game without like breaking your wallet in half, a Yeti Blue is probably a good way to go.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't had any problems with it, but hopefully, I don't know if it's
great
still.
Now.
Really?
Yeah.
You're not kidding?
Yeah. No.
All right, everybody in the chat will give you the standard.
Sean in the chat says that my voice sounds silky smooth. And
that is why I had you on. I didn't even know what you looked like, Ron, but I heard your voice.
Oh, really?
Because I don't even watch your videos. I just played in the background.
I just have the audio on. It's like, you're being kidnapped by the Light FM. As a kid, I always wanted to do one of those Quiet Storm shows. And
yeah.
And then I went to school, and they were like, "Oh, your voice is like way too nasally. It's probably like you'd be better doing the farm report for NPR." And I was like, "I guess." Can I meet Kai Rizdal?
Is that what this podcast is going to turn into? We're just going to imitate radio things that we slightly remember.
I hope not. But I do want to meet Lakshmi Singh. Seems like a great person.
So I unplugged the microphone, plugged it back in. Seems like that solved the issue. So I very much thank you for bearing with me here, Ron. Mm-hmm. What I wanted to catch up with is we were talking about when you started your channel, and I do not want to deviate from your lovely channel because there's a lot of great stuff on there.
Well, there's a lot of stuff on there. Lovely is very subjective.
I love it.
Yeah, early stuff is kind of rough, and it's new stuff is
isn't though
slightly less rough. You know what? There are some people that just get in this game and like does not compute. That just get in this game and they've got like all of that production background.
Yeah.
And so like just from day one, you just want to wring their necks No, it's a great channel, but it's just like, man, this is
how
really.
How did you get that shot where it wasn't blurry and the camera wasn't shaking and the cat wasn't in the background, the furnace wasn't on, and I wasn't sneezing, and then my wife wasn't upstairs standing on the wood and it wasn't creaking all at the same time? You know,
It's I guess voiceover.
Yeah,
Is what it comes down to. It's like shooting hours and hours of footage, picking your best stuff, and then and then just doing VO on everything. or you could be like Technology Connections, where it's just like, well, I need another 20-minute blooper reel at the end of the video this week.
Oh yeah,
so.
I've considered doing that, but all of my bloopers end up with me either. Let's say the content would be inappropriate due to the language that is consumed.
Steve, you're not saying you're effing and jeffing in all these videos of yours when you have mistakes, right?
Let's just say there was one video I did where I was trying to get the facts straight, and it was one of these things where I wanted to respond to something, and silly me, I thought, well, I have to do it now, and it was like Saturday morning at like 4 or 5 a.m. And so the MacGat guys were egging me on, Bruce specifically, because he was awake at that time, and I'm like trying to get the facts straight, and I'm like, God, it's not the darn tootin' thing, and I guess to snap myself out of it, I slapped myself in the face. But of course I was recording. So the next day, when I had little recollection of what I recorded the previous night or early morning, because I hardly had any sleep, I'm going through the footage and I see myself slap myself. I'm like, when did I do that?
I don't remember.
I don't remember.
It's all just a blur after 2:30 a.m.
Somebody slapped me. I'm blaming Ron. So you are using the same channel name or channel that you had previously? Because I know a lot of people will start with one, then they'll create another one.
I think that it was just my first name, like because in the old days it was, or actually it wasn't my first name. It was Tyrantulas. Which is like from Beast Wars and all that, because it was I didn't know what I was doing at the time, and I think that's still my Google email. I've never figured out how to like merge all of this new stuff to make it kind of work, but I'll maybe somebody more learned than I can instruct me one day. But originally, kind of back in those old days, like Google was really like leaning on people hard that they wanted your channel to be your real name.
Yeah,
And I was kind of like, my account was so old that it kind of got grandfathered, and then it was just kind of the fakey name for a while. And then when I got serious about doing this other stuff, I kind of like wiped my old Twitter stuff and redid the YouTube channel with the proper name and all that for kind of what I was going to stick with. So I looked at what people were calling their stuff out there, and I was like, there's a lot of really clever names out there. Yeah. And if there's one thing I'm not, it's clever. So I was just
I would disagree. I
don't know. But the idea was just to make it like, because I think I asked the missus and was just sort of like, hey, like, what should I really call this? And she was like, are you bothering me about this again? No. She said, who are you and what are you doing in my house? Yeah, exactly. It's didn't I tell you to leave? No. But it was just kind of like, just keep it simple, because like people they'll figure it out. And I was like, okay, well, the simplest thing would be like Ron's computer videos. And so I was like, okay, well, then I guess that's it.
Yeah.
and I've potentially I'm now committed to that. So
did your idea of doing these videos, did you have any like how-to videos that you had previously made on your channel before you started to focus on computer stuff, or was just you were kind of interested in computers already, so you thought, oh, I just want to sort of do something and share this?
Well, I've always been like kind of a techie, computery person, and like really like I use PCs at work, and I'm talking to you on a PC right now. Sorry, just because it's cheap. That's it. Because for a very long time,
that's the Mac 84 motto. Just because it's cheap,
it's just cheap, and it just kind of works. It's the Harbor Freight of kind of these types of experiences. So it was just but I've always kind of had some little technical things out there, and I had some videos a long time ago which have now since been scrubbed because it's stuff that doesn't matter anymore. Where it's just like, hey everybody, this is how you set up BitTorrent. And it's just like installing the client.
Here's how you adjust the firewall on Windows XP.
Right. It's those type of things that didn't have high kind of like view count, but kind of diluted what I was trying to do. And if you look at those early videos when I thought, now's the time, I got to buckle down and get serious. Like I'm like, have an episode names and titles and numbers and stuff. And I've left all that where it's just sort of like episode 101 and we're doing this or 102 and hey, we're going to
I saw that when I was looking back at your content. Yeah.
And I've realized people don't seemingly respond to that very well. Like what they want is just like, it's you and 30,000 other content creators. And I'm scrolling and I want to know exactly what it is right now. So in the video where I stripped that, like, because I had a machine, or I had an SE30 that some photographer had like painted with spray paint as for hey, it's like something to stick behind the kids for their back to school photos. I tried the citrus stripper because somebody had said, oh yeah, it'll just take it right off. And yeah, it does. It takes it right off, and the plastic right off, and basically all kind of the surface right off. And all
if you don't want the case at all anymore, that's the
right.
Thing
Yeah. If you want to reenact like the final act of Superman 3, where that red stuff like melts that computer down to the center of the earth, citrus stripper is the way to go. But I thought I would try it. So the video is just called like, don't do this. Like, don't use citrus stripper to clean paint off your Mac. It's just kind of, it's like very like exacting, and with like a little screenshot that doesn't have a lot of fancy, a thumbnail that doesn't have a lot of fancy stuff. It's basically just like right to the content. Yeah. Because I'm kind of at that point in the game where I just need to be direct so that people kind of maybe will give something a shot more than try to be slick.
Well, I think it's also very important to show when something doesn't work, because I think there's sort of the expectation of YouTube videos, and I think it's more of the people that have been doing this for over 10 years or so, or have their own studio set up, professionally. They do this for a living and all this stuff, and nothing against those people at all. I mean, I admire a lot of them, but a lot of those folks will only show you when everything goes according to plan. Everything is, has a happy ending with the story of whatever they're trying to, and I'm talking about mainly the technology side of things. Hey, we're going to play with this. It's going to work. Very seldom do you see something that doesn't work out, or something that is, well, it didn't work out this time, we'll try it next time. Next week, we'll just go on to something else. Yeah. And I think it's very refreshing. And I think it's very comforting almost, especially to people like us who like to tinker around with this stuff, because when are you not playing around with something that will always, there's always going to be a problem.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think I was watching one of my favorite channels, Techmoan, and he just does videos, but he'll plan out stuff, but if it doesn't go according to plan, he'll show why. And so he did a great video on the high vision Laserdisc high definition player from Japan, and it was like a 2-parter, and unfortunately the thing just stopped working at the middle of the second part, but he pressed on, and I was like, you know what, that's great. I mean, obviously we'd all like to have a video, wrap it up in a neat little bow, everything's working and everything, but when things don't work, it's kind of like, well, you tried. And that was the first video I ever did, not to keep coming back to me, but the first video I ever did, I tried to recap a 2CX, and it wasn't fully working at the end of it. But I think it's very important, like, the struggle that you had with the SE30 case and everything. I think it's important to show that stuff, because it's I think just as valuable to educate somebody about, hey, here's how you do something, and you say, hey, here's how not to do something, and here's why.
No, and I really appreciate when I watch somebody's video and they put it out there kind of warts and all, where it makes me feel better about my struggles, because it's really easy to post a slick video where everything goes right. And it's another thing to say, this is sometimes 30, 40-year-old technology, and things will just break, and there's no real rhyme or reason why. Yeah. But it's the troubleshooting, and it's just trying to figure out how to, kind of recover from those little challenges. So I appreciate when people leave that stuff in the videos, and it is, and they're like, I watched that Techmoan video as well, and I've had experiences like that where I've got a video where I literally went camping with some friends, and I took along, and maybe there'll be a version of this video sometime in the future, but I took like a real camera, and shot a bunch of footage and had like us with like 2 quick takes. So like a quick take 100, quick take 150, and then like a modern iPhone camera. And so went through and we had everything set up tripods so you could take like the same shot with all 3 cameras.
Oh, okay.
Not that there's a big difference between a 150 and a 100. It's just codec, so you get some more photos you can take. And I went through, took all the stuff, and then like a couple weeks went by because some other projects came up, and I downloaded the cameras. Quick take 100, perfect. Quick take 150, it has a dead CCD. Ooh. So all the pictures are black, and I'm like, well,
surprise.
Yeah, I was like, that happens, but I'm like, oh, that'll be so perfect to put that in the video, because it's like, what happens if like you have a situation where you went on vacation with one of these cameras contemporary to when they were new, and you took photos and you went back to your hotel room. Because let's face it, if you could afford a quick take 150 or 100, you could probably afford a PowerBook as well.
Yeah, you're probably lugging that around too.
Yeah, so you're walking around, Paris all day. You take all these photos and you go back to download them, and you realize that there's like a problem with your camera or something. And I was like, oh man, this is such a great story about like why it was so important that cameras move forward with a way to kind of review the stuff you've taken, and like kind of, the film days you couldn't really tell, but it's like, this is a little different. And so I reached out to my friend. I was like, hey, can get on iCloud and give me all the photos and stuff that we took so I can finish my video? And he goes, oh, I guess my wife deleted them.
Oh,
so it doesn't matter. So even with that, those shared app or iTunes accounts and stuff like that, you still somebody.
Oh yeah, I don't want you posting these pictures. Delete.
Yeah. What was all this crap? Delete. So
that's funny that you mentioned that, because I had a very similar experience with the film camera. I got a 3D film camera. So essentially, what it was is it had. And it was very cheap, plasticky. I forget the name of the brand, but it wasn't the good one. It was like the cheaper one. Mm-hmm. But it had 4 plastic lenses. So the idea was it would take 2 photos, I think, on each. I'm sorry. No, it would take 2 photos at the same time using up one frame of film. Mm-hmm. And just the way it was lined up, that's why you had the 4 shutters and all that stuff. So the gimmick was you would take 2 photos at the same time. The lenses were slightly apart, and you could get them to print you out a lenticular 3D photo when all that fun stuff. So I thought, this is not a bad idea. That would be fun to do. I took out the camera. We went out, we saw sights and whatever. I think I brought it on vacation because I had this thing for like a few weeks, and I took all these pictures. We staged things that would be 3D and stuff like that. And I go to get the film developed, and wait a few days for it to go there, and I get an email from them saying, well, the film was not exposed. I said, what do you mean the film was not exposed? So, well, the film was not exposed. And so, sure enough, I take my camera, put it in slow-mo mode, I put a flashlight behind it, and I go to take a picture. The shutter did not even budge. That did not even open up. So this whole time, I'm just assuming the shutter worked, and nope, no pictures came out. So check your cameras before you take photos, people.
That's true. It does brings up a very interesting question, though. Can you take pictures of vampires with an SLR camera?
I don't know. How much light is there? I mean,
how many mirrors are in use?
This is true. Well, you need one of the mirrorless ones. That's why Sony came out with the mirrorless ones.
I know. You got to have newer technology.
So I want to talk a little bit about, obviously you have quite a few videos out there. There are a range of different subjects. You have Apple II stuff. You have Macintosh stuff. One of my favorite videos that you did, and actually prompted me to buy some things that I'll be showing up in a video, was the Star Wars screen entertainment video that you did. There it is. There's the box.
I'm bad at pointing backwards.
Because I didn't know there was that version of it. I was always
the CD-ROM version, yeah.
Yeah, I had the CD-ROM version, and I have like 4 copies of this thing, but the box is upstairs. But essentially, it's pretty neat, how they shoved it onto floppy disks, and I had the CD-ROM version. Mm-hmm. But what's interesting is in the second video that you did a follow-up video where somebody sent you the rest of the disks, and you archived it on Macintosh Garden, which is great. For those of you who haven't watched the video, go watch it, because we're obviously talking about what happens in it.
Not now. Wait.
Don't do it now. But essentially, you got the bonus discs for it, and you were playing around with it. But I thought it was interesting because in that package it says, you could send away for even more content. Mm-hmm. And I didn't notice. I mean, I grew up with the Screen Entertainment CD that my parents must have bought at one point, because my mom was a huge Star Wars fan, and so it was a lot of fun to have that on the computer. But it was interesting, in that box, it had an offer, to send away to get even more clips or whatever. But I didn't know that, and I never, if we weren't allowed to touch the boxes because we destroy them. Me and my brothers would just destroy everything that got into our hands. And so when I bought one of these copies secondhand, it came with that flyer that said, "Hey, you could send away from these more." I said, "There's a whole other CD out there that I've never been aware of." And so I went out on eBay and I found that CD. And so I got it, and I'm going to archive it, and I'll probably do a follow-up video and point to yours as well, because I didn't know this was a whole thing. I thought, oh yeah, there was one CD that came out. I didn't know there was a floppy version. It's just really cool that you sort of discover this stuff years after,
Yeah, and the visual clips thing. There was a guy. I used to work at Southern Illinois University, and really great, probably one of the best bosses I've ever had. His name's Matt McCrimmon, and he was like a total Mac guy, like from way back in the way back. And there were some other cool old school Mac people that kind of worked there at the time. There was a guy named Dallas Service, strange name, but a real cool guy. And he had shown me the visual clips kind of running on his machine. I think he had like a 2SI or something like that at the time. So it was a little pokey, but it was just this really cool screensaver, or not really screensaver, sorry, system event tied little visual alerts. And I was like, wow, that's so cool. And it was kind of like, you throw things in the trash and it's like, it plays like the little Death Star explosion or something. So, but the guy that made Star Wars visual clips, that's Eric Shapiro. That's the father of the Grouch.
Wow.
For Macintosh.
Yeah.
So if you remember, I also used to work retail, and I can't date myself anymore. I worked for Montgomery Ward. So it's the long out of business kind of electronics and like home goods store.
I've never even heard of this. Maybe it wasn't by us.
Really huge in like Chicagoland. I think there was like at one time like 8 or 9 stores in the Chicagoland area, and then all down through kind of the Midwest, kind of getting more towards Arkansas, there were stores. But I worked at one of the southernmost stores, and we had like tons of Performa machines at Electric Avenue. Yes, Stormcrash knows. You got to rock on down to Electric Avenue.
And then we'll get a content match.
Exactly. But we sold Performas, and it was just like all kinds of machines, like the Performer, like the 200. So you had like the classics, and it was mostly like the 2VX and kind of like that era machines for a long time. LC2s, so like Performa 405s and all that. And then they kind of switched it to where we started to get Power Max and things like that. And it was right about that time that the Grouch came out. And there were parents that would come in and they'd be like, have you heard about this Grouch thing? Because I guess like through AOL and stuff, you could download it and all. And they would have a floppy. And I literally made Mac sales based on Eric Shapiro's Grouch. Because I'd be like, yeah, I'll install it real fast. So I put it on every machine out there. And I made a folder like on the desktop that just had like a bunch of generic text files in it. And I was like, I told the other sales guys, I was like, drag this in there and empty it. And they would do that. And parents would be like, wow, that's really neat. Like the Macintosh is all kind of about multimedia and sound.
Yeah, it demonstrates animation. It demonstrates sound. It demonstrates your kids accidentally deleting your important work files.
Exactly. This is so cute compared to these Windows kind of Wintel kind of world that we also sold. So I mean, people just loved it, and so I made some Mac sales kind of based on those cutesy little things. And then when Voyager released A Hard Day's Night, so it was like the movie on a CD-ROM. I just set that up on like the higher end Macs, and they just sold themselves.
Wow, I saw that for sale at a thrift store. I think it was the Windows version though. But I regret not picking that up. It was only a few years ago. I think it's archived somewhere.
Yeah.
But it's just really neat.
I think I still have my copy of A Hard Day's Night somewhere, because it came in like a really tall sort of like you thought kind of at the time like what the original kind of PlayStation maybe.
And like and how they used to. Yeah, and the tall boxes of the CDs they used to have in like the big stores, because the CDs were too small, you could steal them. But if it was a tall, long cardboard box, that's.
They had all that great stuff. So not to go down this big long road about all that stuff, but yeah, no, I love it, and it was really cool. Like a viewer reached out and said, "Hey, I've got all this stuff. Let's archive it. Let's get it out there." And so it's all archived and it's out there. So hopefully,
and that's great. I mean, that's a huge push for me to play around with this stuff, is to archive what's no longer available. And I'm very glad that you're of the same mind, because some people are. Oh my goodness, it's copyrighted. It's this company that doesn't exist anymore. They're going to find me.
Right. It's when I get a call from Ringo Starr's lawyers, we'll pull it all down. But not until then.
Not until then.
Not until then.
Well, I do want to tell everybody that you do have an excellent video about the Grouch.
It's only 10 hours long.
It's only 10 hours long.
Folks, I'm telling you, if you're trying to build your YouTube hours up, because you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 view hours to monetize your channel, it doesn't matter if you're really watching it. You can put the Grouch on. It's 10 hours long. You just put it in the background, you mute the tab, and you go home for the night. Do it at work.
I think I have to show people it. Would you mind if I interject the clip real fast?
Go ahead.
I think it's very important that we show everybody this awesome clip. So let me finagle this here. This is fantastic.
In the StreamYard.
In the StreamYard cinematic universe here. We're gonna let's see. I think that works. Maybe. Yeah. Let me add this in here. If it oops. You click the wrong button, it goes away. All right, let's try that again. And so we'll do this screen, and maybe.
Oh.
Yep.
Oh, it almost.
There it is. Okay. So this is Ron's excellent video. I'm just going to play a portion of this for a second.
Again, you were too kind to say excellent. It is.
And it's also an excuse for me to run up the stairs and grab a glass of water.
Oh, there you go. Yeah. I was going to say, it's probably more accurate to say it's a video, like in the strictest technical terms.
Now, I may have not watched all 10 hours, but I have watched a few seconds of it.
Yeah.
So for those of you who are not familiar with the Grouch, here's what it is. I'm going to press play, and you can enjoy this for a moment.
And this is just a loop, folks. I did not do this for 10 hours. But this is the last version of the Grouch that was produced by Eric Shapiro. And it's just an alert. It takes an alert from the system. Oh, you can't hear it, but he's singing the "I love trash." And if you do it again, he's like, "I love it because it's trash." So if you were a kid and you saw that kind of way back when, it's a cutesy kind of thing. But I've got the video set up to where it's like these two files on the desktop. They're like self-replicating file 1, self-replicating file 2, and it's not a perfect loop, but it's darn close as you can make in Basilisk 2.
And how'd you do the self-replicating file bit?
It's like a 2-minute or whatever kind of loop where it's just I do all the actions, and then you go back up to the start menu to kind of start it again. The file's back, and then it does it again. So it's 2 minutes of actual content in a 10-hour loop of that content. So anyway, now I feel like the Macintosh librarian telling everybody how Mackie works. It's magic.
Mackie is magic. I mean, Mackie is love. Mackie is magic. Mackie is life. I mean,
I'm not saying it's a soul of an orphan trapped in a Mac, but maybe.
I mean, Mackie's parents are living the high life in Silicon Valley. It's just how it is. Don't be jealous, Ron. Don't be jealous.
I'm not. I love Macintosh Librarian. That's such an amazing, that's another one of those inspirational kind of channels where it's just you see what the level of content that's being produced, and you're like, man, I'd love to be there one day, but it's such a great PBS-y sort of feel. If you went to school when I went to school and they rolled the big TV in on the cart, it was like you'd watch something cool like that. It's Electric Company. It's kind of all, there
he is,
a baby Mackie.
Yeah, and now Kate's gonna send a cease and desist. No,
but no, it's that one. That one's another great one. But
yeah, that's the thing. There's so many excellent channels, but there's different spins on them. So Kate has her excellent presentation with Mackie and everything, and then you get on to individuals who, they present something, they just go on, they will show things or whatever, but then there are people that have like this whole film production background. They're renting lenses, they're doing lighting and stuff, and then you have people like me who just don't care what the background looks like. This is all facade. It's a green screen.
I was gonna say I love your background. It screams, who's gonna look at all this stuff? Men who? Top men.
Top men. Yes.
Like
yes.
There should just be somebody pushing another crate back behind you, like every 5 minutes, just on a loop, another shipment of things that one day will end up in e-cycle.
One day.
Because the fam, they don't understand. That's why I've got everything, a label on everything. That's
I've been taking inventory and putting labels on things, so we'll get there one day, I think.
Mm-hmm. That's actually the label I have on everything here. It says, "Make sure I'm dead first." Like, get a stick, really poke, because I'm getting to that age where you can just really take some good naps.
You hear the sound of like the apple plastic hitting the trash bin, and you just revive yourself. Well, I'm not dead yet. Come on.
You can't mail that 550. Come on. Did you not watch the video with me and Javier? Come on.
Don't do it.
Yeah, just don't even try.
Your tombstone will say, "Get those batteries out."
That's right. Get those batteries out, people. Don't even put batteries back in. Batteries
who needs the time? Yeah.
They're the devil. Don't do it.
So I think I first stumbled upon your channel during March, which had an event called Marcintosh, which you and Joe were the creators of. You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. Marcintosh is something that Joe from Joe's Computer Museum, another very to the point named computer channel, came up kind of what the idea was. And Joe didn't know me from Adam. And I reached out to him and I said, "Joe, I really enjoy your content and stuff. And I've been watching you for a while. And what do you think about," I was like, "Have you ever participated in Dawsember?" I think is how I started the conversation. Mm-hmm. And he goes, "No, I've always kind of seen it, but," he's like, "I'm more of an 8-bit micros kind of guy." And I said, "Yeah, I mean, I get it, but I said, you've got a great channel and it seems like a wonderful way to kind of get some exposure and introduce yourself maybe to a new audience, because the video that I made for Dawsember in 2020, I guess, got like 2,000 views, and it was just something really simple. Like but it was Mac related too, because it was the Apple DOS compatibility card for like the Quadra 610, Power Mac 6100, and like doing CPU upgrades. Like, really, is this going to get you anything extra to spend money? Because kind of at the end, they started putting Cyrix chips in, and there's always like a tiny bit of a speed difference. So it's like, what is that speed difference in reality? So put one of those in, and then got a like one of those AMD, like the K5X133s, something. Yeah, but basically it was kind of like one of their later chips, because with the 486 socket 3 chips, they're all limited unless you have a special regulator or something set up. You're limited to 5 volts, and all those later chips, you had like internal and external voltages. So a lot of them could not run just in a straight 5-volt socket unless you wanted to just nuke the chip. So
which is always an option.
Yeah. So there were companies like Evergreen and people that kind of stepped in to fill that gap, or PNY, where they had like surface mount laptop versions of those chips on a little PCB with regulators built in. And then you could put it in your socket 3, and hey, now instead of and it did all the clock multipliers and everything on that, so you really didn't have to do anything on your motherboard. It knew how to get it to where it needed to be. And the high end for that was like those 133 kind of megahertz 486 chips. And then of course Intel had their Pentium Overdrive CPUs, but those are still insanely expensive. Like the 83 megahertz version is like $150 still. Just I think because people hang on to them for nostalgia. But I did a video for December where I benchmarked all those, and I used Phil's oh gosh, come on, Phil's whatever computer stuff. What is it? What's that guy's name? Phil. He's hey guys, every video.
Yeah.
Hey guys, and then launches into whatever it is. But Phil's computer videos, whatever. That's I've belabored it enough. But anyway, if you Google it,
we will take a 5-minute break. You will Google this, and we'll get back to it, sir.
Right.
We cannot have this unprofessionalism on this show.
I can't hang here. But he has a really great suite of
I think it's
Phil's Computer Lab.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
philscomputerlab.com. He's got a really great benchmark of like a suite that is a benchmark suite for DOS stuff. So if you want to go out and you want to benchmark your DOS machine, philscomputerlab.com, you can download this little thing. So I ran it, and it's all in real time. You get to watch all these things kind of like benchmark out. And I got a really good response for it. And so I was like, hey, like you should maybe do something like that. And maybe there should even be something like that for Macintosh. And he was like, yeah, that's probably not a bad idea. So we all got together, and I put the word out, and I was just like, hey, and I think I messaged you where I was like, hey, it was like, we don't really know each other, but we've been to enough of these eyes wide shut parties that we can probably start meeting out in public. Was that you? Maybe that's not you. All right. Well, anyway,
I don't know, but that I mean, you just showed up in my garage one day, and you had all these ADB cables, and I didn't know what to do.
On and the robe, and it's secret societies are like that, man.
You got any capacitors, man? I don't know what to do with this, Ron. You were just there, and I look at you, and I go out of focus. There we go. So with
I was like, Steve, I'm going to talk to you about trickle voltage.
Leave me and my family alone. So with Marcintosh, so you started that conversation with Joe, and was this in February, or was this like a year before? How close was this to the actual event?
It probably would have been late January, because I was like, probably late January, because I was talking to him, and I was kind of like, hey, like, what do you think about like Macintosh or Mac and May, like not like very clunky versions of what we ended up with. And Joe was like, well, I don't know. Let's do it quicker than that. Let's do March, or it was like, March Mac or something. I was like, ooh, like we got to make a portmanteau. So we settled on kind of Marcintosh.
And I think that flows pretty well. And I think it worked too well, because even after Marcintosh, when I was spelling Macintosh, I'd type in Marcintosh.
I know it's like that little bug in your brain that like makes you make typos. But we had that kind of initial meeting where everybody got together on Zoom and kind of chatted and kind of laid some stuff down. And you very kindly said, hey, I do hosting and stuff. Let's get a website out there and everything. So, and I think what helped make the event a success is that a lot of big names, yourself included, bought on at the ground floor and just threw themselves in on doing content and helping behind the scenes and helping form something that a lot of these other events don't really have, but now seemingly do, which are style guides, ways to like actually help promote the event when you're doing your videos.
Yep.
And a lot of these events are just sort of like, hey, everybody, welcome to, Fairchild Channel F Fridays, and it's just whatever. It's just people are just posting like just crazy stuff, and it's like the messaging is all over the place. And so I think Marcintosh really benefited by everybody kind of coming together and having like a common language that we used when we promoted and when people made their videos and the artwork and everything. Javier kind of stepped up and did the logo. And if you haven't checked out his channel, he's a great guy. But
I've checked out his logic board that he sent to Joe.
Yeah. Sometimes they're sick. I watched that video that Joe did where he fixed Javier's, it's like a 2C RAM / real-time clock card.
Oh, yeah.
And I'm just like, oh my gosh, you could have just remade this in KiCad. You could have just made a new one. at this point, but it was fun to watch. And that's what I do like is people going that extra mile. So, but
Yeah,
no, everybody got together and they made it a success, and it was so much fun. So, and
I think what was great about Marcintosh was from the get-go, you and Joe made it very clear that this is open to everyone. It's not going to be, big Mr. Mrs. YouTuber and their friends. It was going to be open to everyone. And that's sort of, not that it was maybe by design, but I always felt that those events, and not to name them, but like September or December, just as an example, not saying those specific events, but it always seemed like I heard about them after the fact. Like I wasn't in the know to understand that these were going on. And even if there was outreach, maybe I just wasn't in the particular group or whatever. But with Marcintosh, I remember I think I heard about somebody mentioning it. And then I think I reached out to you or Joe, and then we started an email chain. Then I got in the Zoom meeting with everybody. But it felt like there was no entry fee. Like I didn't have to have, somebody that, I knew that did these professional videos or whatever to get in on this. I didn't have to, submit my content, have it reviewed or anything. And I think what hurts some of these is, there's like, oh, well, you could participate in this. No, your video is not exactly what we're looking for. So even though you put the effort in, sorry, But.
and gatekeeping. You could just say gatekeeping. It's not a bad. It's a word that needs to be said. It's a bad word, but it needs to be said. So
and I agree that it's not cool. I don't think anybody likes being told, hey, you know what, your content's just not up to it. I think if you're on topic of Marcintosh or whatever it is, you should be included on it. Now, if you're doing a video that's so loosely related, I mean, no one's going to stop you putting the hashtag on it, but you're not really going to grow with the community. I mean, that's right. You take your own content there and you make the best out of it.
No, it's true. It's there have been a couple of these things that, like recent events, without naming names, where it was just sort of like, if you read the top of they did have a style document, and they did have a rules list, and you get through all these rules, and then at the bottom that it basically says, oh, but if you want to do a video that has anything to do with X technology, that's cool. And then you come back later and you're kind of like, well, you didn't do it exactly how we wanted you to do it, so no points.
We said you had to wear a red shirt. That's more of a maroon.
Yeah, it's kind of the no ports for Gryffindor. Sorry.
So I would hope that there will be a continuation of Marcintosh this coming March.
Oh, absolutely! Have to, and this year I have to actually get on and produce more content.
That happened to me too. So don't feel bad.
I got it. I made a video that kind of from Crazy Tech Reviews. Our good friend had a video right out of the gate. And it's perfect. That's excellent. Wonderful. Thanks for making that. We had some really cool videos kind of at the very beginning where people were like, oh, I'm going to do Mac things, but I'm going to do it on Amiga. And it's oh, that's great too. Because let's face it, in the 68K world, a lot of those Amigas are the fastest Macs you can kind of own. Yeah. So it's, to kind of show people that cool stuff. It was great. But
yeah. And it's interesting because, I mean, through Marcintosh, like a lot of these others, there's a hashtag, there's a playlist. You find so many other content creators, and I found tons that I just simply didn't know before, or people that made great content, but since they weren't really anything I was particularly of interest, or it wasn't my geeky area of expertise, I really didn't pay attention to it, or I didn't see it come up in my feed or whatever, because the magic YouTube spinning wheel algorithm, who knows when you're going to find things. But with Marcintosh, it was great because I found so many creators that I now just be like, oh, I'm just subscribed to their stuff, and it's great honestly, to find it.
And that's why I kind of suggested the thing too, because I thought it'd be a great way to bring the community together, kind of a catalyzing kind of event where people can feed off one another and do challenge videos and things like that.
Yeah.
I did a challenge video with Logan and over at Crazy Tech Reviews, where it was just kind of I did this thing and I'm challenging Logan to follow up and do the next thing. or just like, oh, I got inspired by this thing you've got, or you did a video on that and I've been thinking about doing it for 6 months and now's the excuse. So, and I think it kind of goosed some people to kind of make some stuff that maybe they were just kind of sitting on, to get those things out the door.
Yeah.
and it kind of is selfish for me. It was really cool because again, I got introduced to like a ton of new channels that I did not know were out there. And it was just really, really great to kind of like see these new creators and get new ideas and make new friends. And
and I had a lot more stuff that was planned. Unfortunately, it didn't work out, but I will save that for next Marcintosh. I mean, it's sort of funny because it's like, well, a lot of the videos I do are related to the Mac, so I could theoretically just slap on the hashtag or anything else. But I think the spirit of it is to do something fun, do something that shows the uniqueness of the Macintosh, or why it was good, why it was bad. It doesn't have to be, it doesn't, have to be like, oh, this is the best machine ever. It's like, yeah, here's this Performa 6200 that I'm using as a doorstop.
Right. I've replaced the power supply with an actual toaster because we're burning this SOB down.
I've replaced the CD-ROM slot with a toaster because the computer is actually functional now.
Yeah. The you know how you can tell that your hashtag event has been a success? When people with videos that are 6 and 8 months old add the hashtag to their video. That's how you know that you have arrived. And that happened. That happened with March.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like you can't stop anybody from using the hashtag. There's no mechanism in place for doing it.
Yeah.
And so
I called Mr. Alphabet and sent it was like a very strongly worded voicemail about how they need to like fix that, but nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Who is this Ron? How dare you?
Wait, it's Ron of Ron's computer videos. Put him through right now.
Hold the phone. Clear my meetings. He's getting the tag. He's coming.
What's that, Ron?
Yes, we'll do it immediately.
That's how you know it's serious.
So with Marcintosh, I found all these great new creators and everything. There's a bunch of new content that I was exposed to. So I'm very glad that you and Joe created that event, and I will have to update the domain to actually say, hey, this will happen next year or something like that. Because now it's sort of just stuck in time.
Right.
I sort of forgot to change that. But
as long as we keep the keep the registration active and it does not become a Taiwanese website for selling for internet dating or selling livestock or something like that, which seems to be the case. I have a friend recently who had like a domain name that he maintained for like 20 plus years.
Yeah.
And then just forgot to renew it. And he's like, well, what do I do about it? And I'm kind of like, I'm not sure. There's not a lot you can do.
There's not a lot you can do.
Yeah, it's what you do is you just hope that the .net or the .org is available and you register that.
Yeah.
And then just pray that, SEO catches up and sends them over to the new place.
Yeah, that's the problem if you register something for a year and forget about it. I mean, the same thing can happen if you register for multiple years and then forget about it also.
Yeah, no, you got to stay on top of that stuff. The GoDaddy people are like, what are you going to do?
Well, you can misspell your name. How's that?
Right. Well, if nothing else, I think you get it registered with a company out of Ireland because it's cheaper. And I'm like, cheaper how? Like you can pay them in whiskey? Oh, sorry, Irish people. No, it was cheaper to host it there for some reason. I don't know. But I was like, you know what? I would have like a hosting company that is at least on the same hemisphere. So that way that you're not like, well, I got to wake up at 3 a.m. because I got to call the hosting company.
Well, Ron, it's been lovely having you on, but unfortunately.
Oh, no, I crossed the line.
So we talked a little bit about you working with computers, but I'm very curious where you started with your computer obsession. Was it always with Apple's? Did you start with a different platform? And how did you sort of get into this and all this craziness?
Well, when I was young, I used to live in South Carolina, and our school, it was right about the time where Apple was doing their program, well documented in some videos recently by the Macintosh librarian, where Apple was just sort of like trying to get computers into schools and was just like, hey, like basically they're sort of free, I guess, in a way.
That's the Kids Can't Wait program, right?
Kids Can't Wait. But what they did is they had like a computer on a cart with a television. And so it is like, I think it was like a 2 plus probably, or 2E or something, like unenhanced 2E, that sat under the television. So when you are a small child that wants to use the computer, you're like,
you have a flexible neck, you're fine.
Looking up, yeah, you'll recover. You got 30 years to get over this. So sorry, I didn't mean to put a date on how long you're going to live, kid, but that's life.
Radiation from the CRT TV, right, and the way you're stretching your neck, nothing good could happen from this.
Right. So they plugged into a television. And what I did is I went into the library at lunch one day, and it was brand new, and I was kind of like, oh yeah, I want to check this out and stuff. And what they did is they sat me down in front of Logo, and or what they called Turtle Basic. so I sat down in front of Logo, and the school had like a little crest. It was a public school, but it had like a little logo for the school. And so I drew it in Logo.
Oh, cool.
And saved it and had it all set up to where you could just like, load this and it would draw it back in real time. And I showed the librarian, and they were very impressed by that. They were like, wow, how did you do that? And I was like, oh, well, it's this program that you showed me. And they were like, wow, that's really great. Cause I guess some other people had come in and done some things. They're like, oh, you can draw a box.
Yeah. Oh, you drew a triangle. Good try.
Yeah. So, but I drew this kind of complicated kind of thing. And so what they did is they one day wheeled the computer classroom to classroom and loaded it and let it draw. And I guess enough kids were impressed by that I never got to use the computer again, because everybody was in there trying to get time. Worst enemy. Yes, trying to get time on the computer. Well, some couple years go by, and they actually built a new grade school, and they had like a Apple IIe lab in there, and it was really great. And you could sit down, you could play Lemonade Stand, you could play kind of all the Hard Hat Mac and all these fun games, and it was like so it was great, like the Kids Can't Wait program, because it's it made it where we had technology in the classroom. And so I started kind of on Apple II stuff, and then my parents were big timeshare people. Mm-hmm. Not that they ever purchased a timeshare, but they love wasting salespeople's time. So we
sound like we have a lot in common.
So it would be like a Saturday, and they're like, hey, we're going to Myrtle Beach. And I'm like, the beach, yes, to a timeshare meeting. And I was like, so you would sit in a hotel lobby for like 6 hours while they are getting just grilled by some salesperson to invest in a timeshare. And normally at the end, you leave the timeshare meeting with whatever the free gift was.
Yeah.
And it could be like, oh, it's a grill or it's some other thing. Well, they went to this timeshare meeting and just took an absolute beating by some like chain smoking salespeople, like some Glen Ross level stuff. and they came out with a Commodore 4 Plus.
Oh, cool.
And so that was the first computer that was really mine. And I loved that 4 Plus. I just had the 4 Plus. I didn't even have like a tape drive or anything for it. So what I would do is you would put the program in and you would leave the computer on for like a week, so that you could like play whatever it was. And I didn't really have I'm just telling you, it's if your parents are going to timeshare meetings to get stuff, you're probably of like meager means. So we'd go to Radio Shack or something like that. Like the mall had a Radio Shack. So you would go to the mall, and the Radio Shack guys in there were like, oh, they'd be like, oh, it's that kid again. And, and they would have
touches all the machines.
Right. They had the very dog-eared. It's way less charming than that thing you saw on like that whatever, I want to call him Norman. I've never seen the show. The young Sheldon, that's it.
Yeah.
I've never seen it. Sorry. But I guess there's a scene where he goes to Radio Shack and he's like saved up and he buys like some Tandy machine or something.
Oh, okay.
It's way less charming than that. So I would go in there and it's like Oliver. And I go up to the desk and I'm like, please, sir, do you have any Rainbow magazines? And they're like, more Rainbow magazines? Like they're really kind of put off by it. But then somebody would go in the back and they'd bring you one that was very obviously the employee bathroom copy. The covers ripped off, and
there was a stench to it, but you didn't care.
Yeah, no, Sean, Geek with Social Skills is right. Sean, he's Commodore +4, and that's the correct.
If there's anything that we strive for here on Mac 84 OpenTalk is accuracy.
Yeah. But
we can't have all those comments in the channel.
They'd give me the old dog-eared copies of Rainbow, or they would have like other, because Tandy had their own little stuff where they would publish like, oh, it's a free program for Tandy to get people excited about whatever, like especially like those little handheld machines.
Yeah, that Radio Shack was pushing.
Just ran basic. That with a lot of those, they would give you like the pocket computers. It's like, oh, here's some free programs. So they would go and like photocopy those for me.
That's cool, though.
Sorry, Tandy Corporation. I'm sure that's what did you in.
yeah.
All those free photocopies.
We're almost making it buy, but no one's buying these magazines.
Yeah. So, but I would get that stuff and I take it home and you'd program it, and then it would be, or you type it all in and then be like, oh wow, this is really great. And that's what kind of got me excited about all that. That and the movie Weird Science.
Oh yeah,
because I was like, wow, computers are amazing.
I could make a girl materialize in my bedroom.
I was like, they made this lady, and that's all fine. But if you could just do that with anything, why would you just not do it with like other stuff? I mean, they make a missile or something, but I was just like, I would just keep doing that.
Yeah, just make a bucket of money. There you go.
Yeah, it was like, yeah, you just make anything. It's like go over to what's his face from Ferris Bueller's House and replace his dad's car. Like you could
sky's the limit.
Yeah, this could be like a real force for good in the world.
So you had the Commodore. How did you find your way to Apple products? Was that early on or just recently?
Well, just really like the Apple II stuff, and then going through school, we always, because public ed, like it's all like if you're typing a paper, you're probably typing it on like some kind of Apple II machine, because we had like little computer labs. Like we had an entire lab that was all 2C plus and 2Cs with like the little 9-inch
little
display.
monitors. Yeah.
And so I typed 1 million papers on those in high school. And then like a neighbor of mine had a Mac, had a Mac 2SI, and was like, hey, and was the kid, because they had like one Mac Classic in the computer lab.
Oh yeah,
and he was the guy that always sat there. So I was like, hey, this is really neat. And our library, they had it's like some 2Cs that had the Apple IIe compatibility card. So I mean, you could do a lot of neat stuff kind of on those machines. So that's kind of the world. Like our computer center at school or at high school kind of had like a lot of Apple II machines, and at that point they were kind of like, oh, you could just open them up and swap cards around and figure out what about this and what about that. And I bought a Hayes like 1200 baud modem, and I would bring it to school because they had a phone line right out there.
No,
because you could dial into Southern Illinois University. They had kind of like a slip line or something you could go into, so that you could get on like the campus sort of like database for like Morris Library. They had a dial-in thing where you could dial in. It was a terminal, and you could like check for books and see like, did my books arrive, things like that. But that phone line is just a phone line. And in the 1990s, Carbondale, Illinois, where I kind of grew up, like later, they had like a huge BBS scene. So you would so in the morning I had like an hour-long sort of study hall, and I would just go in BBS, and then at lunch you come back over there and you BBS. And so that was like
that's cool,
fun thing to do when you're kind of stuck at school. But that was kind of like my growing up. And then we had like an Apple IIgs at home that my parents had kind of bought from my aunt and uncle, that they were like, oh, we bought it and then we never did anything with it. So it was like the fully like kitted out Apple IIgs. And I convinced my dad to buy a SCSI card for it, and I got a subscription to like Soft Disk and some other things where so I'm like mowing some yards and paying for Soft Disk. And so I got all that stuff in. It was kind of like, if you wanted to get on the internet, you still had to go to the campus and like sit down at a computer that under supervision, people would kind of let you do some things.
Oh,
It was all Archie. And,
what are you typing there?
Yeah. So it was kind of a different, we didn't get the 2GS from a timeshare, but no, aunt and uncle who may have gotten it from a timeshare, who knows, but they were a little more fluent. So they kind of had some fun things like that, but loved that 2GS, wonderful machine. Still love the 2GS. But when I was kind of like, I think my senior year of high school, I convinced my dad, because I was like, I really want, like, there was a kid at school who had a laptop, and he was the only kid that had a laptop, and it was some little 3D6 grid kind of like, really heavy. You're going to throw your back out. Yeah. Like kind of, yeah. And I was like, man, I'd really like a laptop. That'd be really great. And I could do this and I could do that. And I could do all these fun things. And I convinced my dad to help me, to source and buy one. And I saw in the campus newspaper that there was somebody selling a PowerBook 100, and it was like $700 PowerBook 100. Whoa. Everything must go, kind of like, whatever. And so we drove out to this lady's house out in the middle of nowhere. And I think that I had saved like $400 or $500, like across a couple of summers of like I didn't go to scout camp that year, or I didn't do this other thing. So I had like a little bit more money, and I bought this PowerBook 100, and just like I lived in that machine forever. And the 2GS kind of moved out of my like vision. Yeah. And like I took the SCSI hard drive that we had on the 2GS, and I hooked up to the PowerBook, and it was at that point I met like some people that ran Mac BBSs, and I would go and they'd have their you want to call them sysops, system operators, or sysop? Yeah, I know it's different areas of the world, but you go to those sysop meetings and they would be like, oh yeah, like I'm like this junior in high school, and these guys are like juniors and seniors in college. And they're like, oh yeah, just come by the trailer sometime. And it's the 90s, so you don't think you're going to get murdered. So you just show up with a stack of floppy disks and just make copies of stuff. And
your parents don't care enough. You're fine.
Well, they did care, but then I think they kind of realized that it's like, he's really into this, and we want to be supportive parents. And it's the 90s, so it's not like he's going to get murdered.
There'll at least be a ransom note.
Right. Yeah. I mean, some slight roughing up maybe, but it's not like he'll be.
Once they realize you don't have anything of value, they'll just cut off one of his ears and he'll be fine.
I know. Apologies to anybody who was on the back of a milk carton back then. But it was just kind of, Carbondale's kind of a small town. It was a different time, as old people are so fond of saying. But no, you just go to random people's house, and actually there was like cool college people. So it was really neat to be in high school and to be like this other world. And it was the most germane, friendly, safe thing that I engaged in, but it felt like getting away with something.
Oh, of course. Yeah.
And to be able to take that machine mobile and do stuff was just this amazing, crazy experience. And I loved it. So that's where I kind of got into that. And then in high school, like the business department at my high school, it was really computing classes. So it's like you got your fill of Pascal and learning to program in COBOL and stuff. And the lady who ran the business department was like, you guys will need to know COBOL when you leave this school because the entire world runs on COBOL. So
yeah. And in 2020, when they haven't redone the tax software in the United States, you're going to have to come there to the rescue.
Yeah, you will be the guy that they call on with all of your Fortran knowledge.
Oh my goodness.
So yeah, so that's my world. And then I went to SIU, and when I got out of there, I left before completing my degree. One of my big regrets. But the program I was in, the guy that was in charge of the program basically said, hey, we do all this stuff, but it's a throwaway world. You're never going to use any of these skills. It's basically, this is your foot in the door to go get a job. And I dropped that semester. I was like, if it's just to say that I did this thing, why am I spending all this money doing this thing? I'm going to go, I am not recommending that to anybody contemporary to you hearing these words. Get your ass to school. you got to have something, because there's a million people that are like hungry and just want it, and it seems like those days are over, that you can just kind of go and do things without that piece of paper.
Oh, so, yeah, it's amazing. You see these documentaries or you hear these recounts, and it's of people in the past, and I mean this is going further back than the time frame you're talking about, but you hear these people, I had this portfolio, and I went up to the security guard that was standing outside, the Disney animation studios, and the security guard was like, this kid's work's good, you better see him, and he got a job eventually. It's like,
right,
they shoot you before you enter, you cross the gate.
That's one kid of like the 1,000 people that tried that. It's like everybody's like, well, it's because he's totally watching, and you're on watch, Mr. Bezos, but everybody is sort of like, Jeff Bezos, like he just went in there and he just wanted it and started that thing. And I was like, but he had a $300,000 investment from his parents.
Exactly. His parents didn't help. I mean, that's such a small amount, Ron. Right. I mean, come on.
We've pocket change. Former presidents that have said things like, like I did this all on my own. My dad just gave me $1 million to get started. And I guess if you're from that world, that it's kind of easier. So it's sort of like Bill Gates going to IBM and saying, I'm going to sell you. We'll sell you your operating system and things like that. Yeah, his mom was like in charge, or was like one of the head people of like the United Way in California at the time. So it's like, all this stuff opens a few doors.
Oh, yeah. You always have to be mindful when you hear of these things, because people tie into like the headline or what they know. And then you find out the details and you go, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
Yeah. So I think if you're going to try to make it, you really need to have some very unusual circumstances happen. But get educated, get to school, get to trade school, finish up your 4-year degree. If you haven't finished your degree, go back, finish your degree, do those things. So off the soapbox for a minute here, but I dropped out, and I immediately went to go work for like mom and pop computer stores kind of in the area, because I was the guy that knew Apple stuff at a time when Apple had a real presence in town, and they had their own kind of like authorized service locations and stuff. And I applied there, and I did everything. I really wanted to work there. I was like, I'm 17 years old. I will just come in and sweep floors if it's what it takes to get here. And I never could make that happen. And so I just became the guy that you went to if you wanted to get your Mac repaired for half the price of the big boys. And I got phone calls and I got hate mail, and they were like,
oh, wow.
Yeah. They were like, well, you're not allowed to fix this. And I'm like, well, I promise that I'm allowed to install system software on people's machines. I promise that I'm allowed to like resolder the analog board on their Mac Plus to fix all these like broken solder joints. I promise you I can. There's nothing on the outside of this that says by opening this, I'm under some Egyptian mummy curse now or something. So you'll
not
have
that
to,
we know of. Not yet.
Yeah. So it was basically, I told them to go kick rocks, and I was like, you can hire me or you can kick rocks. And so they decided to kick rocks. Wow. And
who's laughing, huh?
Yeah, exactly. They're long out of business, and everywhere else I worked is long out of business too. So joke's on all of us. But it was a lot of years to just work in mom and pop computer stores, and then I got hooked into the higher education game, and that's where I still kind of work today.
Yeah, so I mean that it's interesting because you talk about repairing things back then, and just as a segue, we obviously try and tinker around with these machines, and they need a lot of things replaced or reflowed or recapped and all this stuff. But you think, back in the day, they had some of these problems too. If you had a plus that just wasn't soldered 100% right, or it was in very hot conditions, it wasn't cooled, those solder joints could be problematic.
Oh, absolutely. And it's honestly not a situation where it's like, and I think I kind of said this contemporary to all this hullabaloo, was that, are you going to be able to tell, are you worried that when you open this up, you won't be able to tell if you repaired this or if I repaired this? Because if you're worried that somebody is going to try to sneak one over on you and take my repairs into you for like additional service or something, who's that an insult to?
Yeah,
I was like the self-trained person or the person that has been through all this official training.
And who's going to get paid from it? Yeah,
right. So if you think that I'm doing repair work enough that it's taken food off your table, you know how to fix this problem, and all it requires is an offer, and I will figure this out. And yep, no, so very stodgy.
Oh, yeah, sounds like it. Yeah.
Very stodgy.
So with obviously your interaction with these Apple machines and these Macs and things, did you start, just collecting them just because you had the PowerBook, you had maybe the Apple II, you had the Commodore? Did you start collecting these when they were still plentiful and cheap, or is it more of a recent thing that you're thinking, oh, these are fun, let me go find these again?
Well, it's funny you say that, because there's that curve where you start where things are expensive and new, and then things go down to practically worthless, and then they start back up that hill. Yeah. Where would you say that we are on that other hill?
We are, there's a rocket strapped to some spindler plastic, and at one point that spindler plastic will explode.
Yeah.
And will go even higher. But until then, we are still on that rocket. And thank you very much for the super chat, Zodium. Greatly appreciate it. But yeah, I think as far as that curve, yeah, that is. I think unfortunately we are on the upswing of things where there's no logic anymore.
And it's really crazy, some of the pricing on stuff. But so many of these things, because I worked in higher education, or I've worked in higher education for 25 plus years now, and always had a really great relationship with people in secondary ed, because when I was in high school, a lot of teachers and stuff would say, hey, like, talk to Ron, because he can help you with, like, people would call me out of the blue and be like, oh, my 2C won't read discs anymore. And it's like, okay, well, I'll come by on Saturday. And I didn't charge anybody anything. It was just like, you guys have given so much to the community. And I have so many friends that are teachers that just, like, my sister-in-law just retired from teaching after like 35 years. And it's like working weekends and holidays, and you were there selling band candy, and you're working the refreshment stand at all the football games, and teachers throw so much into their student success, even more than just what happens in the classroom, that it's like, if I can give like just a tiny bit back, like, that's what I'm going to do. So you'd drive and you'd go and it'd be like, oh, okay, I took apart your 5 1/4 drive and there was just dirty head and replaced it, or you had a bad belt and replaced that. And so people were like, oh, wow, that's amazing. Like, where would you even find parts for that? I said, yeah, they just leave them on the shelf at Radio Shack. You go in there and you're like, I need the world's smallest portable stereo motor belt, and it turns out it just works. So get a couple extra years out of some of those machines. But so a lot of people, when they got to the end where they were like, oh, I'm retiring from being a teacher, or I've decided I'm going to buy something new because I'm finally going to use my teacher discount. I've saved up all my pep coins, not at the time, but I've saved up all my stuff, and they get those new machines. They're like, hey, just swing by and pick it up. Because I'm like, are you sure? And they're like, oh my gosh, like, you're the mechanic I've taken it to for 10 years. Yes, come get it.
Who else would have it?
Yeah. So I would go and pick up those machines. And a lot of times I'd find people that were like people that I knew through kind of Carbondale's, like, kind of less affluent, let's just say less affluent people's community, and say, hey, do you need a computer for your kids? Or do you need, like, what do you have right now? Do you need another image writer? Because at the time, its image writer was like an expensive printer.
Oh yeah, it was $700. Yeah,
but you couldn't use it with your new, like, whatever compact portable kind of, your new compact laptop. You couldn't use it with that. So I'd find people and rehome all that stuff. So I've probably given away like $500,000 in retro computing stuff over the years. Just because it wasn't worth anything.
Yeah.
And then when things kind of got on that uptick again, I was kind of like, well, maybe I'm going to hang on to some of this stuff. And so I picked like some cherry examples of things that have come through, and those are now part of my collection. So I've got like a ROM 1 and a ROM 3 GS, and I've got like a 2E and a 2C, and I mean, I've got like, one of every monitor and things like that. So I've got like examples of stuff if I want to put together a video or whatever, and don't have to lean on people too hard. Because there are times, man, Patrick, thanks, man.
Yeah, thank you very much, Patrick, for the super chat. Greatly appreciated.
I'm glad I didn't put you off here. But it's just trying to make things a little nicer for people, especially people that just can't afford that stuff.
Yeah, and I think it's a very kind thing for you to spend the time doing. And I've done similar things, not as much as you've likely done with it, but if I got a machine that I no longer needed, or somebody needed a screen or a cable, I was always the first one to say, well, I could lend you this. I need it back eventually, but you need a desktop for school, you need a monitor, you need a keyboard, especially after we had some the Hurricane Sandy incident that we had, and we had relatives that needed things, or they had friends that, oh, my computer got trashed, and I was like, well, I have this laptop that's just sitting here, it's not the best, but you need something here, and I think that speaks a lot to how you are with these topics and these computers. And it's like you want to share what you know, because this is something that you enjoy doing, but there's also like you're not flipping this stuff on eBay for $1 billion because you want to finally take that timeshare that your parents passed on.
That's right. There's no Goldman Sachsing going on around here.
Oh, let's hope not.
Yeah,
you wouldn't be on the show if that was the case.
No. So, and I still do that today. It's the Apple II stuff has dropped off. Like nobody, actually, most recently, a friend of mine reached out to me and said, "Hey, is this something you're interested in?" And yeah, it's a 2C with like power brick and like some other stuff like in that box, or that leatherette case that Apple sold for a while. And I said, "Yeah, I'm interested in that." I said, "That'll be really neat. I'll find a home for the 2C, but I'd like that case because I'll put my stuff in that."
Yeah.
And then she came back and was like, "Oh yeah, well, what about this?" And it's like a couple of the 9-inch displays. And I was like, well, what else do you got? I was like, let me know. I'm interested in all of it, because if I can't use it, I'll rehome it.
Of course,
find somebody that needs it. So like parts and things.
Do you end up getting that stuff, or that was?
Just not yet. It's all like this just happened yesterday. Yeah.
Good luck. Yes.
I know. That'll be really cool.
That's how it happens. You will pay through the nose for something, or you will go out of your way, you drive 3 hours to get something. And then like next week, somebody will be like, do you want this? I'm just going to throw it out. And they're like, live next door to you. And you're like,
that happened to me with like HD 20s. Like I was like, oh, I've got a couple of I got a Mac Plus and I got this other machine. It looked really iconic to sit underneath it.
Yeah.
And I think I paid through the nose for like an SC20 and, or it's SC20? Yeah, SC20.
Yeah.
And then like the next week somebody was like, "Hey, do you want this?" Like it was like in better condition and everything. I said, "Yes, I do."
Yeah,
let me know what the shipping is.
I'm actually looking for a similar one, because I have the Apple tape drive that's of the same aesthetic.
Yeah.
I'd love to have the caddy loading CD drive and the hard drive, just so I could stack them so tall that the Macintosh SE on top of it looks like it's going to fall over.
Yeah, you got to look up at it. Yeah. I do like that. It's like the SCCD or the
something like
SE or something. Yeah, I like the look of that too.
Yeah, and it's not like, I mean, the tape drive sits on my shelf. I actually bought new tapes for it, but I think the roller is sort of gummed up, so I have to restore that somehow. I bought a caliper just to measure that, and guess what? I haven't measured it yet. Sorry, Christian from Macintosh Garden. I know you wanted me to do that. But it's one of those things where it's just like, I mean, some of the stuff is just iconic, so it's cool to have something that matches the design language. It was made, for these similar machines. But, coming across that stuff with some folks who, I think there's a clear divide. If you are enthusiasts of this type of stuff, and let's say you're like me, you have all this crap in your garage, and maybe 20, 30 years from now, you're going to want to get rid of it. You're going to pass it along to somebody who will enjoy it. Or if you're not into this stuff, but you acquire it, or somebody gives it to you, you'll hang on to it until you could get what you're asking for. And I think there's a clear divide. Not that there's anything particularly wrong with that, but I think that I enjoy so much the enthusiast aspect of this stuff, where I'm interested in this. What do you want for that? Well, I have an SC30 that needs recapping. Great, I'll recap that for you. You give me the part that I'm interested in. We'll work on stuff like that. I think that's really cool, because it's like, I'll give something to my friend Mike from Mike's Mac Shack, and he'll play around with it for a while. And it's like I'm loaning him a machine to play with, and I'll fix a logic board for him or whatever. But it's like this stuff they're not making any more of it. And it's getting harder to find stuff in working condition. So I think it's really cool that we are sort of this budding community where it's oh, I don't need this anymore. I played around with this. I've 3 of them. Do you want one to play with? Or I need to fix this. Do you have a part for that, etc.? And I think it's a very welcoming community, with the right people. And there are aspects of any community that are like, oh, there's that guy that just wants to do that thing. But I think by and large, it's very welcoming.
Well, there's a lot of people that are very profit motivated. And I've never gone to this with profit motivation. I like this hobby and it's really great. I'm not the guy on Facebook Marketplace that's like, I know what I got.
I know what I have.
I know what I got. Don't you dare try to lowball me.
The CRT isn't smashed. The neck is just it's in multiple pieces.
Kids having them necked is the style now.
You could just blow the air back in.
That's right. You make your own vacuum. You just and there you go. You just got to be fast. So there are people that are very profit motivated in this hobby. I'm not one of those people. So I try to kind of build up and help other people that are getting things done. I will say that Sean with Geek with Social Skills has been very, very kind to me. Like I was looking for some stuff and he just reached out to me out of the blue one day and said, hey, I got that thing you're looking for. Why don't you, I'll just send it to you. And I was like, hey, are you sure? Like, can I cover shipping on this or something? And he goes, oh man, no, it's fine. You'll have something that I need one day and you'll just send it to me. And sure enough, I did. I was going through some stuff and I had some Tandy stuff that he was looking for. So it all works out. So I think that people kind of, there's a lot of great people in this hobby that just want to kind of, set people up to succeed. There's people that make things. So there's lots of folks that are like, hey, I made, like Joe with his language card for the Apple III. Like there's people that contribute to the community that way. There's people that contribute to the community with just trying to be your cheerleader. And then there's people that are like, hey, I've got I went through and cleaned out a warehouse full of parts and, hey, if you need something that you've been looking for, don't pay out the nose, let's wheel and deal or, hey, if you just need it, I'll send it to you kind of thing. So I'm glad we've got people like that. And I'm glad that there are people, because you had mentioned earlier about kind of marking up and saying hey, if something happens, make sure that this goes to somebody or don't just throw these things away. These are kind of valuable right now. That you've got Computer Reset's a great example of that, where the owner had a horrible accident and was in the hospital for a very long time, and then was in kind of an assisted, a hospice kind of situation for a long time, and eventually did pass away. And the people from the community down there just said it'd be very easy for somebody to just come in and lowball the family.
Oh yeah,
and they would get nothing for these decades of collecting and preserving all of these things. So Raymond, I can't remember his last name, but there's a ton of people that are on this kind of this team that are there to take care of that place now. And it's before where it was just kind of the front door was just open, it's secured and there's appointments to go and view the collection.
Oh yeah, I keep trying to think of feasible ways for me to visit without having to rent a cargo plane to come back with everything I look to grab.
I think it's one of those things. You just keep there's a lot of things there, and it's kind of like when I visited, kind of I think it was late 2019 maybe. You go in there and it blows you away. There's too much to see. You'll never see it all. There are piles upon piles of things. In the beginning, everybody saw that LGR video. It just kind of looked like a tornado hit the place.
And that's how I got in. That's how I saw it. I didn't know about it. It was, yeah.
Well, it is totally clean now. There's aisles and there's a limit on how many people can be in there at a time. There's certain areas that are just off limits because they don't want people taking a safety risk.
Oh, of course.
On doing certain things. Like don't climb on anything. Don't be a dum-dum, and you'll probably go there and have an amazing time.
Yeah, if you want help, ask for it.
Yeah, there are people that are on the team of people there that are the curators of this collection, and they'll sell you things for pennies on the dollar, what you might see on eBay. So if you get an appointment, go and have an appointment. But when you show up, you better come correct. It is the South. and you better be polite, and you better be respectful, and bring cash.
Yeah. Yeah,
so
I think
they do take credit and stuff, but still, cash is king. So if you do have a situation to go to like that, speaking of like the curation and kind of the protecting people's collections, these guys have really stepped in and stopped the family from being taken advantage of.
Oh, of course, because it would have been so easy for somebody to be like, well, I'm just going to buy the land and bulldoze this and toss it all out and make a few bucks by stealing 1 or 2 things and put them on eBay or whatever.
I'm melting it all for gold. And
I think it's such a unique thing. I mean, I know. Since then, you've seen these other things pop up. There's even a place I think in Pennsylvania. There was one in Florida, and all these things. People were just hoarding things, not really taking care of the building. Mice got in, all this stuff or whatever. I mean, I would. Please, if Computer Reset was within feasible driving distance of me, there would be not a single inch in this basement for me to move. Not that there is at this moment, but it just because I'm on their Facebook group and all that stuff, and seeing the work that they've done, it just before and after of like, well, there's an aisle now, and there's this room that's now sorted. So if you pull a hard drive out of this shelf, you don't have a risk of dying from the CRT falling on top of it.
Right. You know, it's way safe. There's not like Trash Mountain. That was the joke for a while, is that in the back of the warehouse they had Trash Mountain, but like all of the, not to tell tales out of school, but the accident that happened was related to like garage doors. So all the garage doors are completely like sealed, like they can't move. That area is off limits. People are not allowed to walk over there. So it's everything is safety minded. And there are a lot of things that the original owner of the store had collected over the years, because you got to think about the Dallas-Fort Worth area, where it's right by Arlen city limits. Where it's located is kind of in such an awesome area for computing history, because you've got IBM and you got Texas Instrument, you've got Motorola, you've got Apple, you've got Compaq, you've got HP, you've got all these companies that were in this like 50-mile kind of circle, and Computer Reset is right there. So like when IBM discontinued the PC Junior, I guess they had like 3 trailer truck loads full of FRUs, old like CRTs, software, you name it. If it was PC Junior related, they had it. And he just went in and wrote 1 check and just bought all of it. So for all these people that were scrambling to get PC Juniors for years and paying like astronomical amounts of money, they were just sitting brand new in the box, never opened at Computer Reset.
And it makes you think, like, where else is like this stuff? I mean, there was a few years ago, there was somebody on Facebook, his father or relative owned an Apple repair center, and he just had boxes of brand new Macintosh 2 series logic boards and stuff. And unfortunately, it was one of these things where, you know, the guy wanted something for his time and money and all that. I understand that, but he was like, well, just tell me what, you know, give me a fraction of what the value of this item was at the time. And I had to explain, I said, these are service parts. You know, I could look up a service part guide from 1993 that says this logic board is worth $700, but there's no way to equally equate what that is today. And even if it's new, you know, I'm trying to explain the technical reasons of why, you know, it still might not be working and all this stuff. But it was just like, you know, somebody, you know, was just like, nope, stuff's got to go. Like, I don't have time to, you know, somebody. And so like a situation like Computer Reset, where people lovingly come in and they, you know, set this, you know, to be for that family. And so, you know, they are taken care of, and that this is also a nice thing for retro enthusiasts to come and say, wow, I want to, you know, come and see what there is. It's like, you know, a pilgrimage. Like I want to, you know, go there. And Mike and I always joke, all right, let's just head in the van and just like go down and you know, I think it's fantastic. I'm so glad that, you know, it wasn't bought and scrapped and all that stuff. I'm so happy that, you know, it seems to be well organized. There are people that love it, that are there, and it's being taken care of.
Retrotech Chris, thank you for saving my bacon. Richard Byron. So Richard Byron's daughter is the one who owns the building and everything, and is keeping up the lease and everything like that.
Right.
So that way that this stuff can all find homes. I'm sure that there is a point in the future where it'll just be we've sold it all and that's it. But I think that there are a lot of really caring people down there that want to kind of maintain this place, because when you go inside, it is like, if you remember computer stores kind of in the 80s, early 90s, I mean, like, people just printed the print shop banners that are up everywhere and stuff, wood paneling. And I mean, it's such like a time machine, that place, that you can go in there and just get lost. I mean, not really lost, because, you know, the piles of trash are gone, but you can just get lost in your memories of like, oh my gosh, like I had this laptop, or I remember when I was just starting out in this hobby, and I wish I could have got this technical manual. I mean, because they have a room that is nothing but printer repair manuals. And the HP certified technician in me from like the early 90s is like, oh my gosh, like, wouldn't it have been great to be able to afford all these?
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Because like the LaserJet 2 and LaserJet 3 repair manual was like $190 in 1992 money.
Yeah.
So, but it was like, if you wanted to repair those, like, you really had to have some of those books, to like the schematics and breakdowns, and
I can't even
and
start thinking about the documentation piece of it, because as you know, someone who loves to tinker, who loves to document things, who loves to archive things, just like, wow, there's probably that disc there that I need, or that manual for this thing that, you know, nobody even knows still exists, and it's just a treasure trove.
There's a software room, nothing but like CDs and floppies and 5 1/4 for like everything you could think of. There's a room that's nothing but manuals, and not just manuals, but repair manuals for stuff. Like there's a room that's nothing but like media, where it's just like I say media, I mean like zip cartridges and ditto tapes, and I mean just cool. Like a room that's nothing but like Bernoulli drives and SyQuest drives and old weird formats that have been dead for 1,000 years. If you needed it, it's there. And like MFM hard drives, like if you need an MFM hard drive, you need an RLL hard drive, you need an RLL hard drive controller, they've got it. They have a room that's nothing but microchannel stuff, because of all the IBM stuff kind of from that era. Like, I am certain that there will come a day where somebody's going to go in there and buy all the 4 megabit token ring microchannel network cards and melt them all down for gold. And that's probably okay at this point, because you can get modern replacements on that, you know. But there's just so much cool stuff there. You'll never go through it all. And when the time I went, there were people that wasted their experience, because there was a dude that was sitting there testing PC Junior power supplies, and I was like, I said, buddy, you have an hour and a half in here, because you get like an hour and a half to kind of go through and do whatever you want to do. And if they're feeling nice and it's a nice cool day, because it's Texas and the building has no AC, maybe 2 hours tops. But 2 hours and 15 minutes, you better be paid and on the way out the door, because these folks have lives.
Of course.
So this guy is sitting there testing PC Junior power supplies. And I was like, buddy, they are going to sell you like 10 PC Junior power supplies for $5. I said, you just take all those and you put them outside in your pile, and you figure out which ones works and which ones don't work. And the ones that don't work, you free cycle them, you put them out on eBay and say it just needs repairs, and you'll find the right person. But I was like, don't invest any more time in this. You need to be like finding the fun stuff. So, but anyway, that was a really cool experience. So I am very I love people that want to archive and they want to protect this hobby for future generations. I think the way you do it is you just be welcoming. You don't be a gatekeeper. You realize not everybody knows as much as you. Don't try your best. And I'm bad at this. I don't want to talk down to anybody, but there are a lot of times where I'll be like, oh yeah, well, you know about that, and they're like, I kind of know, I know about that. And I'm like, oh, well, dude, now I feel like an inch tall, because I explained about recapping floppy drives to you.
I would love to go down and visit one day. I'd need to be aware of what I'd want to bring back. And I always hear, oh, there's not Apple stuff there anymore. They cleared out all the Apple stuff. And then you see pictures and I'm like, well, there's a blue and white G3 monitor. There's an iMac slot loading drive. It's like I could see these things. Like, don't tell me. And obviously there's so much stuff there that, you know, no matter how much organizing and digging, there's always going to be something.
Now, I will say, anybody that is planning a trip, get on the official Facebook group. Don't say, hey, how do I sign up? It's in the rules. Read the rules.
Read it.
Because they, again, like, the people that have answered every question, they've heard it a million times. Just don't be that guy or gal.
Yeah.
But the what you absolutely want to make sure is that I forgot where I was kind of going with this. Gosh, sorry.
Don't be respectful of their.
Oh yeah, you want to kind of be respectful of that stuff. But oh yeah, here's what it is. If there were 8-bit micros, 16-bit micros in there, they are now all gone. You might see like, I mean, you're not even probably going to find like a PC XT. I think most of the PC Juniors, like PC Juniors as complete sets, because what they were doing is I think they kind of realized that everybody was on that PC Junior kick.
Oh yeah.
So they were like, okay, well, here's the deal. We've made it easy. Here's a box that has the PC Junior, a monitor. It's got like all the sidecars, because PC Junior didn't have ISA slots. It had like little things that stacked on the side. So it's like, it's serial and real-time clock, parallel port, RAM expansion, and there was some other thing, and I can't remember what it was, but it's all of the sidecars. It's a wired keyboard. It's a wireless keyboard. It's the cable to hook them both up. It's an extra infrared module, because the infrared modules have a big problem with dying on those. Yeah. And then also like the basic cartridge, the demo cartridge, and like a joystick and a couple of other little things that are like quality of life improvements for the PC Junior that came out right at the end when IBM was just trying to get them out the door. I think it was like the whole thing was like $299.
Oh yeah,
so it was super cheap if you wanted a PC Junior. And I think that they have now depleted all that. So they just have like, oh, it's a PC Junior like CPU, or we've got keyboards, but now they're maybe only wired or something. So you would have to check with the group to see. Adam says they've got a ton of CRTs left. So
I remember being in the group. They're like, yeah, we'll just charge you a CRT tax, and you can take whatever else you want.
Yeah.
And I'd love to make it. I'd love to make it down there one day, but I know friends like Adam and other people who have access to that stuff much more feasibly than I do at the moment. So I always post on Twitter, hey, I'm looking for this or whatever. And not that I need anything, but it's like, oh, that would be cool. You know,
yeah.
So.
But I think Texelec also has. So if you go down there, and Adam said he got one of the last, or they have a ton of CRTs. Pick up a CRT. Tom Barber says he got one of the last PC Junior kits. So congratulations, Tom Barber. you dirty. You know,
so
they had to sell them all.
Speaking of cool finds and stuff, is there any one gadget or computer that you'd love to find, whether it be at a computer reset or someplace else? Like, what would you have a holy grail item, or are you just happy with all the gizmos that you got?
I have a lot of stuff I really like. I'd really like to get a 2C Plus. That's the only Apple II that I don't own.
Yeah, I'd love one too.
I had an opportunity to get one here maybe about 6 months ago. It was a teacher posted it on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it was like $125. It was like $125, 2C Plus, and like some other stuff with it, and it was immediately gone. It was like 30 minutes from home too. I just driven over there. I said, I was like, hey, is it still available? Oh no, I just sold it. And I said, oh, that's a real shame. So the trick, folks, is to say, did they ask you to ship it? Because sometimes people will say, like, yeah, they did ask me to ship it. And then I'll say, well, I'll tell you what, if your shipping stuff falls through, here's my contact information. Yeah. Let me know. I am not people that do this, where they're like, well, I'll tell you what, I'll come and I'll give you an extra $50, you know, just come pick it up right now. People get to their deals. Don't be that person. Yeah. But I will say, hey, if this falls through and you have you can't ship it, something happens, payment, whatever, like, I'm your second buyer. I'm your next person in line. And a lot of times people will be like, oh, okay, well, thanks. And you won't hear anything for months. And then they'll get back and they'll be like, oh, the other person was like, oh, they wanted me to do something, like send them like gift cards or something. I'm like, why are you paying them for this? But it was like internet scammers and people like that. And so you're top of mind when they come back, and then you can sometimes get some of those things. That's cool.
Yeah, because I had someone about 30 minutes away had a Quadra 610 for sale. So it's like a pizza box one, and it had the box and everything. And I messaged them and they said, look, someone's already interested. But you know, they're coming tomorrow. And I said, look, I think I paid an extra $20. I said, look, I understand that this, you know, you have a buyer, but just in case it doesn't work out, I'm willing to pay X amount. I understand this is as is, blah, 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 but I'll come pick it up today.
Mhm.
And within 20 minutes, they said, well, the person said, there's not responding. I need to move this. I'm going to go away on vacation next week. I don't want to think about this. Come and get it.
Yeah.
And it was great. I picked it up, had an Apple adjustable keyboard in the box. I mean, that was cool. I had the monitor and everything. And then there's times you don't win out. There was an Apple IIc monitor with they had the stand. And it was $40, and it was maybe 20 minutes away from me. And I didn't see the post earlier. I saw it. By the time I messaged the guy, it was gone. And he was asking like $40. So I said, look, he still had it, but the guy was coming to pick it up tomorrow. And I did say, look, I'll pay you X amount for it. I'm really I don't want to ship it. It looks like it's really good condition. And the guy's like, yeah, no, I'm not doing that. I'm like, all right, that's fine. If you change your mind, let me know. I'm here, but I'm not going to be like, oh, you should, obviously you want the thing, but
Right.
we've all been the other guy in this situation. So
I try not to be that guy. I know that there's a lot of people that just have something that's been in their closet for a million years. They just want to get rid of it. They don't really care who they sell to. There are those people. Like I had I bought my Color Classic with a U, Sean from Geek with Social Skills. I always when I messing about my Color Classic, I always put Color Classic.
International Classic.
But I got my Color Classic from like a furniture store. Or it was a furniture store, but they also, as a side biz, had all sorts of like consignment items and salvage items and things like that up in the St. Louis area. And so they posted on Facebook Marketplace. They're like Color Classic, and it was like in the box. But I'm looking at the box, and I'm very clearly, there used to be a store kind of in Missouri and Southern Illinois that was called Bud's Place. And Bud's Place was where all the returns from Walmart ended up that they could not send back to the manufacturer. So there would be in a lot of places where you had the new fancy super Walmart, the old Walmart before it was Hobby Lobby was a Bud's Place, and it had a Bud's Place little price sticker on it. So I'm like, this was return. So this has probably been broke since the 90s. And it's just been passed around.
Yeah.
It's just been sitting around, letting the battery leak on the motherboard. So they were like $120. And I said, oh, okay. Well, I said, that sounds really, or I'm thinking this. I'm like, yeah, that sounds really maybe fair for a Color Classic. Especially it's like keyboard and like the original box, like all the styrofoam and stuff. Yeah. I was like, yeah, that's a curiosity kind of thing. So I messaged the guy and he goes, nah, I got like 3 other people interested in it. It's price has gone up. So, if you want it, it's like $160. And I said, well, let your other buyers know that if they want it, they can take it. But my price tomorrow is $100. And he's like, oh, well, let me check. And it was like within 5 minutes. Yeah, they passed on the deal. If you want it for $120, you just come get it. So I'm like, dude, you're trying to like goose the price on this? I'm like, I'm the only human being that has contacted you about this.
Yeah.
It's like $160. I'd probably still paid. But it's like $160. I was like, no. So, but it was like, oh, so you can play this game. I guess my price goes down every day. It'll be free by Friday.
Oh God! Well, we have about 15 minutes left or so because I don't want to step on Mike's MacShack's time because I'm going to send everybody over to his channel. Just a quick thing for him. Mike of Mike MacShack is doing a stream on a very interesting Intel iMac that he picked up. So we'll be sending everybody over there before we end, but we're not quite done yet. I did want to ask about your very, it's almost like you're giving it away. I mean, this is a $1 fee to have you, wish my child happy birthday and to do my corporate marketing ads. And this is on Cameo. Could you tell us a little bit about this?
Yes, I have a Cameo. I am not a famous person. I have a Cameo though, because I am famous adjacent. Because I have been just in the last year or two, I did a movie with Larry Blameyer, which if anybody's ever heard of the Lost Skeleton of Cadavra, which is sort of like one of those new old movie kind of things. The Blu-ray is just slightly out of reach, but anyway, I did a short with Larry that's called The Girl in the Clock, where he takes footage from like old public domain movies, redubs it with like new dialogue and editing and stuff, special effects, sound
footage
effects,
type thing.
very much so. And he does these kind of as extras on his kind of like bigger movies. So he did. I think he made a movie a couple of years ago. It's called like A Dark and Stormy Night, and they did a Kickstarter, and they did basically like a Blu-ray release. And I auditioned and got a role kind of in one of the extras, or one of these special extras that they were going to put on the Blu-ray as an added bonus for people. And just kind of from there, I've done like a bunch of other things, but famous adjacent. And the Cameo thing, a friend of mine sent me a invite where he's like, hey, like, you know, you should do this. It's fun. And he charges like way more than $1, but I charge $1 because I just thought it would be kind of fun. And a lot of people have reached out and just said like, hey, like, you know, I published an ebook. I had somebody from India reach out and say, hey, we published an ebook. We'd like you to do sort of like a pep talk for our ebook team, and did that. Or just have people that are just, they ask questions where just like, hey, like, you know, I've been Facebook friends with you for a long time, like, you know, wish somebody a happy birthday or whatever. So, but yeah, it's I'm on Cameo. You can just search for me. It's Ron McAdams. Pretty easy to find, pretty basic. So, and yeah, for $1, I'll tell your kids to, like, you know, wash up, do their homework, and get in bed on time.
So I have your link tree on the screen here, but for anybody, if I ever get around to doing this audio only, it's www.linktr.ee/RONMCADAMS. So that's linktree/Ron McAdams. Yeah. And you have your Twitter on there, your YouTube, your Cameo,
your IMDb, all that stuff. Yeah. There's a million ways to find me. Yeah.
But which one is the best one?
Oh, I would say Twitter's really great because it's such a kind of, speaking of not having you know, gatekeepers, you can just talk to people, and it's really great. You don't have to be like, you know, engage with them kind of like on Facebook and some other platforms where it's like you have to be, quote, like friends with this person to kind of engage with them. And I'm sure like a lot of celebrities are just kind of like, oh, it's another media impression, click. But I think Twitter kind of democratizes like these conversations, because you can like, hey, I like this thing you're doing, and like share a link with other people, and they don't necessarily have to like follow that person, but they might see this one cool thing you like. So it can certainly be a cesspit, just like anywhere else. But I do my best to kind of avoid like the areas where people are like, you know, it's like, here's all the problems I've got with these folks. You know, I don't follow those people. I'm not interested. So
those darn Windows users, you know.
Right. That Miley Cyrus. It's always something with this lady. It's like
welcome to 2002.
Yeah, how old's this tweet? Oh my gosh.
This was written on a stone tablet and discovered in the desert.
You're on old Twitter.
Oh my goodness! Well, it's always fun to see what you're up to on Twitter and on YouTube. I always like seeing your videos that come out. I'm very happy to have you on here. We're not ending just yet, but I just want to let everybody know that if you do not subscribe to Ron on YouTube, go ahead and do that. You could also follow him on Twitter. His handle is Ron's Comp Vids. There you go. Easy to remember.
Yes, easy to remember. Hard to spell. So I had kind of written this down as like kind of the way to end this today.
Okay.
And I know we don't have a ton of time because Mike's got his thing, but are you going to let me ask you the Pivot questionnaire?
Sure.
All right.
Let's go for it.
All right. Well, anybody who's not familiar with the Pivot questionnaire might be familiar with James Lipton from Inside the Actors Studio, his show that was on A&E for like 4 million years. Recently passed away.
That's right.
He would ask these 10 questions to people, just sort of like at the end of the interview, and it was just kind of a fun way to kind of end the things. And there's a that gets the Pivot questionnaire from the French show where he got the idea, because I guess he was traveling and he saw it on French TV and thought, oh, this is really neat. I'll do this on my show. So, but I think the original show is called like Bouillon de Culture. So it's like the soup or the mix of culture, something like that.
So what you're saying, Ron, is I'm not cultured.
No, I'm saying you're rather salty, and I'm gonna put you put some bones in there. You got a stew going on.
Now I'm hungry for lunch.
I know. So let me ask you some of these questions. It's
sure.
There's 10 questions. Try to make it through pretty quick.
Go fast.
All right. So what is your favorite word?
Oh, probably the words I find myself having to re-edit out of my footage because I say them too much. Fantastic, I think, is that. So there you go.
Fantastic. Okay. What is your least favorite word?
That's a tough one. Expensive.
Okay. What turns you on creatively, spiritually, or emotionally?
That's a good one. I would think
they're thinkers. That's the whole point.
I think just generally, sort of sharing. Being passionate about something, sharing something for either, hey, I'm going to archive this, I'm going to share this, or I'm going to fix this, I'm going to do this. I think learning is part of that. Just like sort of, being creative and learning, and this, I can't think of what the best way to answer that, but that's just kind of in there.
Sure. What turns you off?
Not just like a stern no, like nope, you're just closing the door or not being inclusive. Yeah, you're just like nope, sorry, can't help you, and just all that stuff. I think it's very easy to say no, and I'm certainly not a saint when it comes to like, hey, can you just sorry, I just don't got the time, but I think that just like a nope, it's just like, well, why not? Like, come on, let's
put some thought into this. Think about it first. Yeah. Okay. Number 5. What is your favorite curse word? I think you intimated to this earlier. You don't have to say the curse word.
I've been saying cheesem crackers recently. I stole that from South Park. I think Butters says it a lot. Yeah. So every once in a while I'll be like, cheesem crackers. Yeah. I think that's a fun one.
I love mother father. So number 6, what sound or noise do you love?
I love the startup chime of a quadra.
I thought you were going to say eep.
Oh, well, eep. There you go. That's
for
the super chats before I forgot. But
what sound or noise do you hate?
The death chimes. Okay. Or tire squealing or some other awful noise.
What profession other than your own would you like to attempt?
I would love to. Well, it's not like I'm professional at it, but I would love doing video stuff, being creative. I always wanted to be an animator and always wanted to animate stuff. And not that I don't have the skills to do that, but it takes so much time. I don't have the skills. I do have the skills to do it. But no, it's just something that like I tinker around with. But it would, I think I think the term that Pixar uses is story artist, where you come up with, thoughts and skits and ideas and stuff. I'd love doing that one day. Not to say I didn't apply to that, but I was not selected.
What profession would you not like to do?
Anything involving me having to stand up.
So you wouldn't do stand up?
If there was a chair, sure.
They give you a stool. You can lean on the mic stand.
It's got at least 2 legs. I'm good.
Be like, hey, everybody. Like, what is the deal with airline food? I'm just saying.
What's the deal with these analog boards?
That's right. They offer you a stroop waffle, but then they bring you peanuts. Anyway, that's my time. Everybody, thanks. Coming up next, Michael Richards. I hear he's got a great new set. All right.
What did you turn the clock back to 2010?
All I got's old references, man. Sorry. All right. So here we go. Number 10. If heaven exists, what would you like to hear God say when you arrive at the pearly gates?
Okay. That's a good one. I'm trying to really search for not a quick Macintosh joke here, because if you're like, oh my God, thank gosh you're here. These caps are killing me. No, it's something I don't know, something like, oh good, here's all your friends here. Here's that thing you lost like in 3rd grade that you've been trying to find for 20 years. If he did say like eep, then I'd be like, whoa, what's going on here?
Wow. You've been watching my channel. Thanks.
Ooh, I shouldn't have said that thing. Yeah. Why'd you subscribe? What's up with that? You don't have the internet up here? Come on.
Sorry about all the fart jokes, Yahweh. I just sorry.
You could like, you watch the videos, but you can't subscribe. You didn't create a Google account. Come on, what's going on here?
60% of my audience isn't subscribed. Come on, you can do something about that. I mean, Red Sea and all. Just like it's click a button, click a thumb.
Yeah, pull an HP instead of pre-installing iTunes. Just pre-subscribe to me on every account.
Right. So, hey, before we do wrap, can I show you 2 cool things that
Yeah, sure.
Like a thing I made, and then a really cool thing that a subscriber to the channel sent in.
Please do. Let's see. Okay. I'm going to put you're going to be full screen.
Okay. So
oops, that's me. How do I get you full screen? Hold on. Nobody wants to see me full screen, and I'm very bad at this. Hold on.
It's all right.
There we go.
Okay. Hey, this is good. All right. The first thing not coming to a merch store anywhere near you. Everybody has had those situations where you've been working on a project, especially some kind of retro bright or something to do with your Apple II machine, and things are just not going your way, and you need just that tiny extra bit of inspiration to get that project completed. And that is why you need a Javier inspirational candle. You light this candle and it will improve your retro bright by 10%, I promise. So
I'm so glad I don't have a candle, because then the capacitors would start smelling.
You've got to get one of these. These are really great. And then the other thing is, actually, this is a double Javier. Javier Rivera. We did a video a while back about like the most shippable Macintosh, and not like which 2 Macintoshes you'd like to see, like finally stop fooling around and start fooling around. No, about like don't mail a Performa 550. Just don't do it. Like you've been warned. There's no excuse not to know at this point. But what you what you should do, like best practices for kind of boxing up those machines and all that, and which are going to actually survive to their destination. Well, I made a joke at the end. There's a guy in my office who had one of these, and I was like, oh, that'll be the perfect one. So the number 1 machine ended up being kind of a joke item, but there was someone that was a subscriber in my channel that took it upon themselves to mail me one. It's our good friend, the Smackamack. And this is a real original Smackamack. Sorry, the camera or the light is kind of blowing it out.
That is really cool.
But with the original little fakey manual and everything.
That is cool.
Yeah, so I thought that this was so super nice. It's never been out of the bag, so I really don't want to take it out of the bag.
What year did those things come out?
It would have been kind of contemporary, because this is supposed to be kind of like a Mac SE. Yeah. So it would have been maybe a year or so after that. And they had some other little ones that looked like classics and other machines. And I could have swore that you had kind of like a PC version of that.
I have a little. These are from Throwboy. These are just these little. These are modern, so you could go to their website and buy them. But this is like a little. Cool. Yeah, this is a little. They call them pocket pillows. They have much larger ones, but these are the tiny ones. And then there's a iMac one too, which I think is really cool.
Yeah, I was gonna say, because I could have swore that I saw them in the background of one of your videos. So
you could see tons of stuff in the background. I don't know where it is though.
But everybody loves Smack-A-Mac. I think that these were so cute back in the day. I never owned one. I had to borrow one for that funny little video I made with Javier, and so it was really, really cool that somebody, I guess, has been hanging on to one for all those years.
That's awesome. Yeah, you find it in a drawer somewhere, or
and decided to send it to my already crowded basement.
Well, I mean, if a basement isn't crowded, you're doing something wrong. That's
probably
that's
so.
I'm just gonna say, but I would love to. I guess me holding up these things was part of my product exchange here. But but if you are not aware, Ron is obviously on YouTube. He's on Twitter. Search for Ron's computer videos. You'll find it. Is there anything that we could look to expect in an upcoming video? You want to give us a sell or a tease for anything cool?
Well, I got a couple of things kind of on the docket right now. As a lot of people will say, you talk to Adrian, you talk to some of these folks, and they're like, "Sorry, man, got like this 90-day production pipeline. It takes, it's going to take a bit for me to get that video out the door for you." It's I sent him a package for Marcintosh way back, where it's kind of like a promotional thing. And since no video is forthcoming on this, I'll just tell everybody what it was. It was like the large USPS flat rate completely packed with Haribo candies, like every type that you can get, like one of everything.
It's like completely stuffed.
Like a 10-pound box of Haribos, and I like some little 3D printed stuff promoting Marcintosh. So, Adrian, you're on. You've been called out here. You've got
because he's obviously watching this. He's a big fan of Mac 84.
Well, dude, he watches everything I do. It's like the other night, I was just like in the living room, and there was just like two little eyes and glasses like outside the window. It was like Kilroy. So,
and Adrian, if you are watching this, a long time ago, you had a problem with the Quadra 800, and you swapped the CPU with the LC version, and you were running things, and it was complaining that it didn't have an FPU. It's because that processor does not have a coprocessor. Try and swap it out with a full 040. You might have some success with that. I'm not saying it'll work. I'm just saying I tweeted at you, and yeah, so there you go.
It's yep. It's, you know, I'm trying. He's one of those guys where he's got those views and stuff. So I went and I bought like an old bath towel. I'm doing everything. I'm trying to recreate his success. So
I just want to know how he angles that camera so it looks like he has a clean desk, because that is what I have to do next. But
I think it's CG
mirrors.
Yeah.
It's CG.
It's CG. It's a green screen.
I think one day one of us will get there, Ron, and I'm hoping it's you.
We will. Hey, you were talking about the coming up thing. Sorry. What I wanted to say is at 1,000 subscribers, I'm giving away an Apple IIe card.
Oh, there you go.
With cable. So
Ooh.
there'll be a video teasing that here in the next few weeks. Probably what'll happen is there'll be some official rules to make sure that nobody gets too upset if they don't win, but it'll probably just be a random draw from subscribers. You'd have
Awesome.
like 24 hours or something to respond to, hey, you've won kind of thing. So anybody that is on vacation in North Korea and doesn't have access to email, you just missed out. Sorry.
Yeah,
you got to meet Dennis Rodman. That's gotta have to be good enough.
that's up there on the list.
You can't have Dennis Rodman and Apple IIe card. Come on.
Oh,
So Apple IIe card with the cable, all the fixins, everything you need to get it going. So I've got a couple of them now, and it's time to pass on the love.
well, that sounds like an excellent way to segue into saying Apple II forever.
Apple II forever.
And thank you very much, Ron, for joining in today. I want to say a big thank you to Ron, of course, but I did promise my friend Mike from Mike's Mac Shack that I would be promoting the heck out of his channel. So I'm going to put a link in the YouTube comment section there. If you're not subscribed to Mike's Mac Shack, please do go hop on there. He's going to start a video in about 30 seconds, 45 seconds. He's going to take apart and look at a Mac that he just got. So take a look at that, please, and go consider subscribing to Mike's Mac Shack. And of course, Ron's computer videos on YouTube and on Twitter. Go follow him, see what he's up to. A lot of cool stuff that he's been doing, and I'm looking forward to trying to win just the cable part of that Apple IIe card.
We'll see.
Well, thank you very much, Ron. Take care, guys. I hope everyone has a great day. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks, guys.